The 22nd Discworld novel, The Last Continent, is very clearly Sir Terry Pratchett's love letter to Australia. So I don't think we need to ask ourselves which human beings on the planet were Sir Terry Pratchett's absolute favorite. It's Australians. That's so very, very clear. In this case, it's called 4X. Like XXXX 4X. And goodness gracious, this story is better than I remember. So this came out originally in 1998, and we are yet again following our friend Rincewind, who yet again is stranded. We also do follow the Unseen University faculty, because of course. And this time around, like goodness gracious. Goodness gracious. This story is also about time and space, about myths, but mainly it's about Australia. It's also about how about the story about the universe being carried around by an old man in a bag with, the universe is in the old man's bag. That's true. Absolutely true. Just like every other story. The thing about the wizards is that this time around the librarian is seriously sick. I can't quite remember what the illness is called, but it's magic induced. I mean, of course, this university. But because the librarian wasn't originally an orangutan, he was originally a human being. That was in Sorcery. And ever since the events of Sorcery, he has been the librarian. He's been an orangutan. But this illness is making him morph. His morphic field is affected by his illness. What I mean is that he keeps changing into different shapes that can fit his surroundings. Like he changes into a deck chair, he changes into a coconut, he changes into a dolphin at one point. But we'll get to that. And because it's a magical illness, basically the only way that the wizards figure out how to help him is to find his name. But the librarian really likes being an orangutan, so he has pretty much erased every single clue as to what his original identity was. The only one who can possibly remember is Rincewind, but they don't know where Rincewind is. Plot happens and they figure out that the best way to find him is to find the professor of cruel and unusual geography. What they find instead is a magic portal through the professor's bathroom window. Because of course. And this window leads to this gorgeous, scenic, well-dressed as well, beach. Just picture perfect holiday vacation beach. It helps that Ankh-Morpork at this time is in the middle of winter, so is full of snow and it's cold and nobody likes it. So they're out the window. They are quickly joined by Mrs. Whitlow, the housekeeper, who accidentally closes the window, meaning that they no longer have a portal back to Ankh-Morpork. And of course, things are a little bit more complicated than that. Meanwhile, while all this is going on, Rincewind is bequeathed a quest by a magical kangaroo that is working with or for the old man with the bag. And he is saddled with the quest of saving 4X, because he's already done so, but he hasn't reached the point where he has done so. And the thing about 4X is that it is it has a lot of times and spaces all across. Oh dear God, can I explain this? Basically, picture a scrunched up piece of paper. That piece of paper is time and space on 4X. It's messed up. what happens in, well, basically the time in one place isn't the same as in another place. And we're not talking about time bells. We are talking the place is messed up completely, time and space wise. I'm not explaining this well, but it makes sense when I read the book. Because the thing about the time and space is that it has always been messed up, but it only happened recently. It's one of those stories. And I love it. For some reason though, the magical kangaroo claims that Rincewind is the reason why time is so messed up. Although I still don't quite believe that. I don't quite get that point, but whatever. On top of that, 4X is very special because first off, it's the youngest continent on Discworld. It's the one that was developed the last. It was last to be, created. It wasn't created by the same world creator, not the same individual that created Discworld. It was created by another god or creator. And on top of that, it is constantly surrounded by this eternal storm, like storm. No one can cross it, so 4X has always been isolated from the rest of Discworld. The reason that anything is there is because things get stranded there. And also the things that Rincewind just comes across while he travels around 4X is it's so Australian. This is such a love letter to Australia. It's just like, it's the Aboriginal stories, it's mythology, it's folk tales, it's movies, it's characters, famous people, events, things, everything Australian basically. Like, okay, one of the things that makes us I almost said Australia, but 4X very, very special is that in one place you have a literal crocodile running a bar attended by sheep, kangaroos, and a drunk wombat. Oh, and also by the time that Rincewind reaches that bar, it's because he's joined up with a dwarf called Matt, and that entire sequence when they are meeting up and running away because how things are, it's such a Mad Max reference. That was Mad Max. And I feel like the crocodile is a reference to Crocodile Dundee. Like, that was the first thing I thought of. I'm like, crocodile. Back to the wizards. They discover that the island that they are on is not only thousands of years in the past of the Discworld, it is the abode of the god of evolution. And there's all the plants that are trying to make themselves useful to the wizards. Like making food, like puddings, cigars, all sorts of desserts, all sorts of food. It's just like, that would be useful in Roundworld. And also there was a sequence with what I'm pretty certain was a T-Rex fast speedball evolving into a chicken that then became dinner. But that also sadly explains what happened to the aforementioned professor of cruel and unusual geography. He was apparently eaten by one of those monstrous thunder lizards. And there's also the things that... Okay, jumping back to Rincewind, because all the references. Like, there's a reference to Mad Max, to Crocodile Dundee, and in a movie that I haven't thought about in such a long time, but now I feel like I need to watch it again. Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. Although on 4X it's renamed to Petunia, the Desert Princess? Yeah, Petunia, the Desert Princess. Also, you cannot mention Rincewind without mentioning the Luckets. The Luckets arrived at the same point as Rincewind, but like 5,000 years in the past, or something like that. So they are not at the same point of existing quite yet. But the locust gets broken out of rock, some kind of crystal, like, and then gets picked up by, the traveling troops on Petunia, the desert princess. Oh, the representation in this book. But back to the God of Evolution. So apparently he started out as a, regular god. Didn't quite find himself there, and he's kind of like an atheist god. And he is a little bit contradictory, honestly. I wrote down in my notes. He doesn't seem to recognize the wizards as being humans. But then he talks about having been a god of a tribe of humans that then got killed off because the neighboring tribe following another god wiped them out. So at some point he knows what humans are, but then he doesn't make the connection. It was a little bit strange. Might have been done simply for the jokes, and I don't know. Still like it though. Although the God of Evolution is very strange, entertainingly so. So he is getting tired because this is such a Pratchett way of putting things. The God of Evolution doesn't quite understand what evolution is. So he keeps reaching in and redesigning like the beak of a bird. Instead of letting the animals take care of themselves, he keeps being the middleman. The wizards are trying to explain certain things, and the conversation eventually reaches a point of reproduction. And the wizards, being wizards, aren't the best educated, except maybe Ridcully. But they are also very trying to be decent about it, which is not a good way to be when you're trying to explain reproduction to a god that has no idea what that is. So they are basically a mess of blushing old men trying to explain to a god what reproduction is. And then Mrs. Whitlow arrives to the rescue. Now there's a reason why she's a Mrs. So she takes the God of Evolution to the side and explains exactly what reproduction is. And it makes the god giggle. But the thing is, the wizards also want to leave the island, like they... it's not really, they kind of want to find a way to get back to their time. To begin with, Ponderstippens decides to stay because his character arc, story arc in this this novel is that, he's a young man, he in an academic situation, and he really, really wants to have some positive influence, do things, and not be constantly reminded that he's the youngest. So at first he volunteers to be the god's assistant, and he's very, very excited about it, until he discovers what the God of Evolution considers the pinnacle of evolution, and it is not humans. Because Ponderstippens is still idealist. He's so when he realizes that the God of Evolution considers cockroaches to be the pinnacle of evolution, he's like, I'm out. And the reason that they manage to get off the island is because there's yet another plant that literally grows its fruit into a boat. And then they travel across the sea and towards the next continent over, which turns out to be the last continent, 4X. But at that time there's already that great big storm all around it. Magical storm, of course. And, because it's magic, the wizards are very sensitive to magic, so tempers flare. At some point, when they land on the beach, or are shipwrecked on the beach, that entire sequence is gorgeous. Like, at that point, Librarian has already turned into a dolphin. Goodness gracious. Oh, and the entire thing... Listen, because by the point they crash on the beach, they have this time ribbly wobbly thing where they turn back into... Well, the older wizards turn back into, children. But Ponder Stippens turns into an old man. Oh, and also the Bursar. He's been one of the best characters in this entire thing. Because he's always a little bit mad. He actually serves the Bursar. Honestly, I think the Bursar and the Librarian were the best characters this time around. Well, among the best. There's a lot of good characters in this book. And I have to go back because, listen, there's this entire thing with the... Goodness, which one was it? Senior Wrangler. It took me way too long to remember that. Senior Wrangler has such a huge crush on Mrs. Whitlow. Goodness. That entire thing. I don't think that Mrs. Whitlow ever realized it. Yeah, no, she didn't. All the more entertaining. And by this point, when the wizards have washed up on shore on the last continent, they do come across the old man with the bag, who is drawing. He's basically drawing life onto 4X by drawing deceptively simple figures on a cliff wall. And this has been something as a running thread throughout the story. There are these drawings. And the wizards, being wizards, interfere. And honestly, at one point they're trying to draw a duck, and they accidentally create a platypus. And of course they annoy the old man with the bag so much that he draws them into the rock. At this point, however, the librarian has regressed into an infant. Hasn't changed back at this point. And he's nicked something that, was a little important because he actually took away the rain. So the tool that the librarian picked up is called a bull... What's it called? A bull roarer. So basically it's a thing that you swing around. And when he was playing with it, he took away the rain. Which is why it never rains on 4X. And why I cannot understand why the magical kangaroo said that it was Rincewind's fault. I'm like, no, he wasn't even there. But yeah, at this point, the old man with the bag has trapped the wizards in the rock, where they remain for thousands of years until Rincewind manages to get them out. And Rincewind, listen. So I mentioned Petunia, the desert princess, before. So they have the lookets, which they call Trunky. Trunky is wearing hundreds of little high heels and some kind of clothing. Because the ladies that picked him up are, it's never mentioned in the story, but it's heavily implied. They are drag queens. But Rincewind never figures it out. Never. By this point, so I'm skimming a lot, but by this point, Rincewind has built charm quite a bit. And at the end, he is apprehended, thrown into jail, and will be executed the morning after because he was caught stealing a sheep. He was actually saving the sheep from being stolen, but... And the thing about the Phyrexians, and that we discover throughout the ensuing events, is that they really love their ballads, and they really love a good story, especially when a prisoner escapes jail and gives a good chase. They love it. Love it. Even the guards, like, every single Phyrexian in this story is such a lot of fun. Like, it's very clearly what human beings Pratchett adored above everyone else. Australians. Like, there's an entire sequence with the opera and Rincewind trying to help a cook with making a dessert. And there's an entire thing just with the guards themselves. And then this parade thing where the Petunia troop comes in. And that entire thing, just those people. So not only does Rincewind not realize that drag queens are drag queens, he just thinks that they are the absolutely best ladies that he has ever met. Bless him. He also discovers that there's a magical university, the 4X University of Magic, because there are wizards there, because of course. As it turns out, he has a distant cousin there, who is the Archangelo of 4X University. So events happen. There's a cave beneath a brewery that wasn't there, but has always been there. And that's a cave where the cave paintings or the wall paintings of the wizards, the engravings, or what you want to call them. And Rincewind does a thing, gets the wizards back, and then everyone has to run out of the cave because the time catches up with the cave, kinda. So the cave that wasn't there before but is now collapsing into the time. And then Rincewind uses the bull roar to call back the rain. He also dissipates the eternal storm that's been circling 4X. And the send-off that he gets from the people who he has made acquaintance with throughout the story. Like the cooks from the opera house, the ladies who are now going to start a brewery again, the guards who are like, we got you the pardon, is a fantastic one. And just, it was such a sweet ending also, because now 4X, the Phyrexians are able to just go out and explore Discworld, which I kind of feel like was kind of a cute little dick from Pratchett to Australians. Like, they are everywhere, and from this point on they are probably going to be everywhere across Discworld. And yeah, so we end this story with the wizards and Mrs. Whitlow and the librarian embarking a boat along with a lot of other people and good things, heading hopefully back to Ankh-Morpork. So yeah, this was my chaotic reviewing of my reread of The Last Continent, the 22nd Discworld novel. I really recommend it. That's just, especially to Australians. Like, so the next book that I will be rereading will be Carpe. I have no idea how to pronounce that. Which is very clearly a vampire novel. It's Pratchett's take on witches versus vampires. So yeah, thank you for watching. Hopefully you'll be with me again next time, my next review. Maybe there are other videos on this channel of mine that you would like to see. Who knows? But in any case, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again next time. Okay? Until then, take care. Bless.